The chill of pre-dawn clung to the stones of the citadel like lichen, a damp, murmuring presence that seeped through Samuel Tarly's woolen cloak and settled in his bones. He shivered and drew the fabric tighter, pausing on the worn steps that overlooked the Honeywine's sluggish current far below. The river reflected no stars tonight. A mist had rolled in from the sea and blanketed Old Town in ghost-gray folds. Bells tolled the hour from the distant high tower, slow, resonant pulses that seemed to throb inside Sam's chest, each one an admonition that time, precious and fragile, was sliding away like water through cupped hands. He had read until the candles died, eyes aching, mind blazing. Now dawn skulked just beyond the horizon, and Sam knew he should sleep. Instead, he stood in the hush, fingers grazing the leather satchel slung at his side. Inside lay the book, no, the relic, that Maester Ambrose would deny even existed. Arana's Testament of the Weir, penned in an age when Valyrian dragons still ruled the skies, and the faces in the heart trees whispered in broad daylight. Inked on supple duskin, its passages were ciphered in runes older than the citadel itself. Sam had deciphered only fragments, but those fragments promised wonders. A ritual to breathe life back into slumbering gods, to rekindle the sap of ancient magic that once pulsed through the roots of every weirwood. Sam could almost hear Jon Snow's voice drifting on the wind beyond the wall, weighty with quiet resolve. "We will need every power there is, brother, for the darkness has not died with the Night King." Jon's last letter had been curt, scratched in charcoal, hinting at unrest among the wildlings and tremors under the ice. Summer was waning again, too soon, too cold. If ever there was a time for old gods to rise, it was now. The pages of Aaron's testament spoke of places forgotten, caves beneath the Isle of Faces where green men once wove garlands of mistletoe, a crumbling sept in the barrows of the north where first men bled into the earth to seal pacts with trees. But the first step lay no farther than the citadel's own undercroft, among dusty vaults forbidden to novices. There, according to the testament's riddle, rested the heart carved from winter's wound, preserved in iron and salt. Without it, the rite was naught but words on wind. Sam's breath fogged as he descended into torch-lit corridors lined with chained tomes. He padded past drifting motes of dust, mindful of every echo. The farther down he went, the colder the air became, as though winter itself seeped through the granite to pool here. At last he reached a door banded in black steel. A single candle burned within a wall niche, illuminating the arch. A ring of scratching ravens carved in relief, beaks parted in soundless calls. Maester Vulcan had once joked that the ravens were carved to remember secrets they witnessed. Sam no longer found the notion amusing. Keys jingled softly. Pat's copper key for the upper stacks, Rodri's iron for the vault, and, tucked beneath Sam's sleeve, the thin, silvery sliver stolen from emboldened curiosity. The key Ambrose kept hidden under his pillow. Sam pressed it to the lock. For a heartbeat, nothing moved. Then a soft click, and the door sighed open on hinges dry with disuse. Darkness loomed, thick as velvet. Sam lit his stub of tallow and edged forward. Shelves climbed like skeletal trees, dripping scrolls and codices that smelled of mildew and secret. A dull metallic odor hung in the air, mingling with salt. Sea salt, perhaps, or something fouler. He found it on a pedestal draped in faded crimson cloth. A box of black iron, its surface etched with a spiral of runes. The box pulsed with a damp chill that numbed his fingertips even before he touched it. Carved into the lid was a stylized heart, sundered by a jagged line. Winter's wound. Sam swallowed, feeling suddenly as small as the boy his father once belittled in the great hall of Hornhill. Yet he lifted the box. The iron was lighter than he expected, like wood hollowed by rot. A scuff of leather on stone jerked Sam's head up. Torchlight flickered at a corridor's bend. Panic fluttered in his throat. Gilly's face flashed before him, cheeks dimpled, babe on her hip. "You must come home safe, Sam," she had whispered. "Promise me." He had promised. The light receded, likely only a novice on late watch. Sam exhaled shakily, tucked the iron box into his satchel, and retraced his steps. Each footfall echoed like a heartbeat. By the time he emerged into the courtyard, dawn's first silver brushed the cloud. Master Ambrose awaited him beneath the rookery's arch. Hood up, hands clasped, he resembled a crow judging a fledgling. "Stealing keys now, are we?" His voice, raspy and disappointed, cut deeper than his words. Sam's mouth went dry. "My lord Maester, I only. Curiosity may earn links on your chain. Theft earns chains of another sort." Ambrose's gaze flicked to the satchel. "Hand it over." Fear warred with resolve. "For John, for the watch, for the living gods asleep in heart trees." Sam squared his shoulders, surprised to feel steel in his spine. "Forgive me, Maester, but I cannot." Ambrose raised an eyebrow. Surprise, then sudden calculation, shadowed his features. "You do not know what you carry." "I know enough." Sam gripped the strap. "The old powers stir. If we do nothing, they will fade forever." "Superstition." Ambrose spat the word. "The gods need no mortal meddling, and that thing," he jabbed a finger at the satchel, "is cursed. A relic from the reign of Maegor the Cruel, locked away for good reason." "Good reason or fear?" Sam asked softly. "The wall has fallen. The dead marched. If the old magic can shield us anew, should we not try?" "Naman Kalanyona." Ambrose's eyes softened, regret pooling deep. "Books and boys," he murmured, "ever eager to rescue the realm. But the realm bleeds when such eagerness missteps." He sighed. "Go then if you must. I will not call the guards. Yet heed me. Not all that is lost deserves resurrection." Sam bowed, gratitude swelling. He turned before doubt could root him in place. The courtyard opened onto the river gate. Beyond lay a battered galley bound for White Harbor, sails already unfurled to catch the morning breeze. Sam quickened his pace, heart thrumming with relief and trepidation in equal measure. The voyage north was uneventful, save for squalls that tossed the galley like a plaything. Sam spent the days hunched over Aaron's Testament, translating by dim lamplight while gulls screamed outside the porthole. Gilly kept little Sam close, teaching him to clap at seabirds and laugh at the spray. At night, Sam dreamt of white trees oozing red sap, their carved faces twisting from sorrow to exultation. When White Harbor's marble towers came into view, Sam felt the call of the north like a hand on his shoulder. Wyman Manderley greeted him with booming hospitality, yet Sam tarried only 2 nights before purchasing horses and provisions. The King's Road beckoned, a ribbon of muddy gray snaking toward Winterfell. Autumn colored the hills in copper and gold. As they rode, a hush fell over the land, as though the very air braced for unseen winter. Travelers were scarce. Those they passed nodded with wary respect. Sam wore the black cloak of the Night's Watch once more, badge of danger and duty. Gilly hummed lullabies. Little Sam gurgled. Ravens traced quiet spirals overhead, ever watchful. It was near the ruined sept of the Duskendale pilgrims that Sam felt it. A tug in his gut, a distant drum he could not name. That night he studied the Testament's latest translated passage. Where new and old blood mingle by moon's half-face, seek the root that drank the tears of giants. He puzzled over the riddle until firelight blurred his vision. By dawn, he understood. The the Barrowlands. They veered west, crossing rolling moor studded with ancient barrows. Grass whispered above unseen caverns, where first men kings lay wrapped in rusting swords. Sam camped beside a huddled ring of standing stones one eve, and the iron box in his satchel throbbed with cold that numbed his leg. He dared not open it. Not yet. The first weirwood appeared the following dusk, lonely sentinel atop a low ridge. Its bark gleamed milk-white, its leaves blood-red, its carved face eroded yet unmistakably sad. Sam felt the tug intensify, a near-audible pulse under his ribs. Gilly clutched little Sam closer, eyes wide. "Does it speak to you?" she asked. Sam wondered. He approached the tree and laid a palm on the bark. A chill raced up his arm, yet with it came warmth. Memories not his own. A child chasing snowflakes, a woman singing to her dead lover, a stag dying under moonlight. Voices overlapped, quiet yet urgent, weaving sorrow and hope into a single thrumming chord. Sam's breath caught. Beneath the whisper was a question, or perhaps a plea. "Will you awaken us?" He stepped back, shaken yet resolute. "I will try." That night, he broke the iron box seal. Inside lay a heart, blackened, desiccated, no larger than a man's fist. Cracks webbed its surface. Salt crystals glittered like frost. The moment the lid creaked open, wind keened through the standing stones, as if the land itself inhaled. Gilly gasped. Little Sam wailed. The fire guttered, throwing frantic shadows. Sam wrapped the heart in linen, murmuring prayers half remembered from the faith and the old songs Gilly's people sang beyond the wall. The heart was cold as ice, heavier than stone despite its size. As he lifted it, letters flared across its surface, Valyrian glyphs burning crimson, then fading. Sam's wrists prickled with gooseflesh. Aaron's testament prescribed 3 acts. Offer blood to the root, bind fire to the sap, breathe name into the silence. Blood, fire, breath, simple words, masking peril. The nearest heart tree stood less than a league away, nestled in a grove where no bird sang. Sam ventured there at dawn, iron box underarm. Mist clung to the hollows. Shadows slid between gray trunks, watching. The weirwood's face was kinder than the lonely sentinels. Its eyes closed as if dreaming. Sam knelt, heart pounding. He drew a small knife and nicked his palm. Blood welled, dark and hot. The old magic, he thought, must taste living blood again. He let the droplets fall to the roots, staining white wood red. A sigh rustled the leaves, only wind, yet different. The bark under his hand warmed, faint but undeniable. Encouraged, Sam set the blackened heart in a hollow between roots. He struck flint to steel. Sparks danced, catching tinder he had placed earlier. Flames licked the hot surface, reluctant, dim. Sam whispered Joan's name, Gilly's, little Sam's. Every name he loved and feared to lose. With each, the fire brightened until it burned a pure, ghostly blue. Suddenly, the grove echoed with a cry that was not his own. A deep, arboreal roar rising from Earth's belly. The weirwood's eyes snapped open, pupils pools of crimson sap. Light erupted from the carved mouth, a river of scarlet coursing through veins etched in bark. Sam staggered back, awe and terror locked in his throat. Leaves shuddered, shedding droplets of blood that hissed upon the ground and sank like rain upon parched soil. Across the Barrowlands, distant weirwoods answered, crimson glimmers sparking along the horizon, as though stars had fallen to earth. The heart within the flames cracked. From its fissures spilled liquid the color of dawn, pale rose, alive, pulsing. The fire hissed out, quenched by the flowing sap that soaked into the roots. Sam felt a ripple race through the earth, carrying his heartbeat with it. Somewhere far north, beyond the wall's shattered remnants, something stirred. Then silence fell, thick and absolute. The weirwood's eyes dulled, now only painted scarlet once more. The bark cooled beneath Sam's trembling fingertips. He knelt, breathing hard, tears streaking his cheeks though he knew not why. The heart lay in ashes, crumbled to a fine, gray powder. Gilly waited at the edge of the grove, face pale. "Is it done?" she whispered. Sam opened his mouth, but before he could reply, the world tilted. A gust of wind tore through the trees, carrying voices, not echoes, but words clear and bright, spoken in a tongue older than men. "We wake. We remember. Who calls?" Sam's knees buckled. Images flooded his mind. A wolf with eyes of dusk, a stag crowned in thorny antlers, a dire raven bleeding starlight. He saw the god's wood of Winterfell, its heart tree blazing like a torch, the Isle of Faces ringed by green men, lifting horns in silent salute. The frozen heart of the far north, where a single pale flower thawed within the ice. Sam felt stretched, a conduit between worlds. The old gods were no longer silent. Their breath rode the wind, and they demanded answer. "I am Samwell Tarly," he stammered aloud, voice cracking. "I call you for the living who need your strength." The answering silence vibrated with power, a pause heavy with expectation, like lungs drawing first breath. Then came a whisper, gentle as snowfall yet mighty as a quake. "The pact is renewed. Keep faith, little singer." Sam blinked. The grove was still. Morning light slanted through crimson leaves. Birds chirped, oblivious to the miracle. Gilly approached, setting a warm hand on his shoulder. Little Sam cooed, fascinated by the red foliage. Sam rose, joints aching. A sense of vast purpose settled upon him, thrilling and terrifying. This was only the first act. Blood had been offered, fire bound to sap. The third remained, to breathe name into the silence, to carry the gods' awakening across the realm. At the edge of the grove, a lone raven awaited, feathers glossy black save for a single white plume at its breast. It cocked its head, watching Sam with intelligent eyes, then flapped onto his arm unbidden. A scroll was tied to its leg, sealed with black wax bearing the dire wolf of House Stark. Sam unrolled the parchment. Jon's handwriting sprawled across the page, hurried and desperate. The dead walk again beyond last hearth. Ancient shadows move beneath the snows. Meet me at Winterfell with all haste. Bring every hope you have kindled. Sam looked to the weirwood, whose carved face now seemed less sorrowful, almost serene. He envisioned roots stretching north, south, east, west, veins of memory, carrying the gods' reborn heartbeat to every corner of Westeros. But a heartbeat alone could not wield sword nor shield flesh. The living must rise in tandem. "We go to Winterfell," Sam said. Gilly nodded without hesitation. "Where you go, we follow." The raven croaked, as if in agreement. They left the Barrowlands under skies the color of iron. Behind them, the grove's leaves whispered secrets to a gathering breeze. Far ahead, along the King's Road, farmers paused mid-harvest, as their heart trees shivered awake, saplings sprouting scarlet leaves overnight. Children dreamed of white-barked giants who spoke in booming kindness, and in crypts beneath Winterfell, stone wolves snarled in their slumber, stirred by drums no mortal ear could hear. The old gods were rising, and with them came promise and peril entwined. Sam rode toward the heart of that storm, the ashes of a blackened heart tucked safe in his satchel. Ashes that glowed faintly, like embers awaiting breath to ignite anew. Night fell on the second week of their journey north, quick and ruthless. Past a bright moon hung low, painting the world in silver and indigo. They sought shelter within a dilapidated holdfast, its walls breached by age, roof sagging like a weary elder. Yet it offered respite from wind's savage teeth. Sam built a meager fire while Gilly curled beside little Sam. The child's snores, soft as kitten purrs. Outside, wolves howled, a mournful chorus that raised hairs on Sam's neck. He opened Aaron's testament once more, tracing ink that shimmered faintly now, as though aware of the rites already begun. The next lines resisted translation, runes shifting like leaves in breeze. Sam frowned, muttered the syllables aloud. At each utterance, the flames leapt higher, casting giant shadows on mossy stone. A shape emerged from darkness beyond the hearth. Sam's hand flew to the dagger at his belt, but a voice stayed him, a gentle baritone threaded with the hush of forests. "Fear not, Samuel Tarly. We shared bread once, beneath greater perils. Shob." The fire revealed a figure cloaked in mottled green and brown, eyes like mossy pools, face lined with centuries. Leaf, one of the children of the forest, last seen vanishing into the snows east of the wall. She bowed her small, antlered head. Sam's jaw dropped. "Leaf, how did you?" "The roots carry whispers across leagues." Leaf stepped closer, gaze flicking to Gilly and the child. "We felt the heart stir. You have woken more than God, singer. Old promises bind us again." Sam's mind raced. "Then you'll help us?" The darkness gathers once more. Nanan. Shh. Paul. Leaf's smile held sorrow. "Our help comes at cost. Life for life, memory for memory. Yet we will stand, as we once stood, beside the first men." She produced a pouch of seeds, glowing faint green. "Plant these at Winterfell's godswood. Let the roots entwine, strengthen the weirwood's pulse. But heed, the rite is undone if blood of the unworthy stains the heart trees. Guard against betrayal." Sam accepted the pouch, its warmth pulsing through his palms. "I will guard it with my life." Leaf's silhouette faded, dissolving into motes that drifted toward the fire and vanished. Only the seeds remained, heavy with promise. Outside, the wolf howls ceased, replaced by silence too deep for comfort. Sam banked the fire low and lay beside his family. Sleep came fitful, riddled with dreams of burning forests and icy rivers of blood. When dawn paled the sky, frost rhymed the holdfast of stones in crystalline lace. They rode hard that day, passing villages where folk spoke of strange omens. Sheep birthing lambs with reddy-tinted fleeces, wells that tasted of iron, dreams shared among strangers of trees that wept light. Fear shadowed every tale, yet hope gleamed too, like dawn through storm clouds. 3 nights later, they crested a rise to behold Winterfell's stout walls bathed in torchlight. Smoke curled from chimneys, banners snapped in stiff breeze. Sam's heart swelled at the sight. The home he had never had yet somehow belonged to. At the gate, a guard in stark gray met them, eyes widening at Sam's cloak. "The Lord Commander told us to expect you." He called for stable hands, ushered them inside. Courtyards bustled with northern spearmen and free folk alike, uneasy allies honed by shared nightmares. John awaited in the godswood, beneath the massive heart tree, whose face was stern and knowing. Snow dusted John's dark curls, his cloak bore fresh tears. When he saw Sam, weariness cracked, replaced by fierce relief. They embraced, words tumbling. Dead things sighted near Carhold, ghosts in the frostfangs, wildling scouts vanishing into white. Sam placed the pouch of seeds and ashes of the heart into Joan's calloused hands. "Help me finish the rite," he said. "Our hope lies in roots and blood and memory." John nodded, eyes reflecting torch glow and faith. Then we begin at once. The realm must feel those roots before the long night returns. That night, Winterfell's godswood thrummed with life. Sam knelt beside Jon, Leaf, and a circle of wildling mystics, each holding torches that guttered sapphire flame. Snowflakes swirled overhead, catching blue firelight, whirling like frozen embers. Sam chanted passages from Aeron's testament, his breath steamed with each syllable, hanging in air before drifting to the heart tree's face. Jon drew his sword, Longclaw, and pressed the Valyrian steel against his palm. Blood beaded, falling red on snow. He smeared it across the tree's bark, marking the ancient wood anew. Leaf scattered her glowing seeds at the roots, whispering in the children's lilting tongue. The seeds burrowed instantly, vanishing beneath the soil. A quake rippled through the godswood. The tree's eyes flared red, sap coursing down like tears. Branches groaned, stretching skyward, leaves unfolding into fresh crimson hands. From every limb poured soft, luminant spores that floated over the walls, drifting across Winterfell like summer fireflies. Soldiers and small folk gazed upward, awe replacing fear. Babies reached stubby fingers, old men wept openly. In every godswood in the north, weirwoods answered. At Storm's End, a lone sapling split its stone prison. In the Reach, forgotten heart trees burst into bloom, crimson against green. Even in King's Landing, scorched remnants of Baelor's sept, where ashes still stank of dragonfire, a single white shoot pushed through charred earth. Dawn broke over Winterfell to find red leaves carpeting ramparts. The air smelled of snow melt and sap. Sam knelt, weak with exhilaration. He felt the land breathe. The rite was complete. Yet as cheers rose beyond the wall, a shadow crossed Sam's thoughts. Aeron's testament ended with one final warning, a line he had not spoken aloud. When gods breathe anew, so do their echoes. What sleeps beneath the ice shall envy their awakening. As though echoing the warning, a chill wind swept through the courtyard, snuffing several torches at once. The weirwood's leaves rustled in a hush like funeral cloth. Far to the north, on plains where daylight seldom lingered, an ancient song stirred, one forged in frost and despair, sung by throats long dead. The dead had heard the heartbeat. Sam met Jon's gaze across the roots. In those dark eyes he saw understanding, determination, and a flicker of fear. The old gods had risen. Now all creation would feel the tremor of their first steps. And so the true tale began, not in clash of swords or roar of dragons, but in quiet weeping of trees whose blood ran red as any man's. Sam stood, wiping sap and tears from his hands. He squared his shoulders, spine straight, despite fatigue. 5 hours, 5 days, 5 eternities, it mattered not. The song of leaf and stone had begun anew, and he would not falter before its final verse. Mon, lilas. Frost glazed the battlements of Winterfell long before true winter's return. A brittle skin that cracked beneath the mailed boots of sentries hurrying along the wall walks. Dawn's ruddy light smeared the eastern sky, but its glow warmed nothing, and every breath drifted pale as pipe smoke. Samwell Tarly stood in the godswood again, hood thrown back, watching steam curl from his mouth while ravens crowded the branches overhead. 1,000 coal-black eyes stared down, beaks clicking like tiny bones. In their throats he heard a pulse, rhythmic as his own heart, as though the birds themselves now kept time with the trees. Jon Snow joined him, cloak snapping in the wind. "They croak day and night," Jon said, voice low. "Ghost won't set paw in here anymore." The direwolf lurked at the edge of the wood, hackles bristling when the bird spoke. Sam nodded. "The weirwood hums. The birds feel it." "I feel it," Jon replied, in dreams. The roots stretch further every night. Bran warned this might happen, magic awakening in everything it ever touched. He says the wall between worlds thins each time the sap quickens. Bran, the boy who flew, now lord of 1,000 eyes, wheeling through skies and memories both. 3 days passed. Ravens had carried word from the Isle of Faces. Bran trained beneath green men older than kingdoms, studying tides of time. His message had been brief but haunting. Hold fast. The river of night rises. Build your bridges sturdy, lest they drown beneath the moon. Sam puzzled over its meaning, while translating the last quatrains of Arana's testament, but the riddle eluded him. Jon stared at the heart tree's crimson-inked face. How long until the dead strike again? Leaf says they gather in silence, Sam answered. She can feel their footsteps deep under the snow, like distant thunder. But the old gods will guide us if we hold the grove's bond. Jon's mouth hardened. Faith won't sharpen blades. No, Sam allowed, but it may blunt despair. Steel rasped behind them as Arya strode into the clearing. She wore leathers dark as night. Needle hung at her hip, but she carried a spear as well. The dragon glass point glimmered blue-black. Blades are ready, she said. Despair can worry later. She tipped her head back to eye the ravens. One fluttered down, landed on her wrist. It cocked its head and, in a perfect mimicry of a human whisper, croaked. Not today. Arya's lips twitched. Jon frowned. That phrase used to comfort me. It still should, Arya answered. Not today means there will be a tomorrow. We fight for tomorrows, don't we? Sam swallowed a smile. Even in gloom, Arya's voice sparked like flint. She and Jon left to ready patrols. Sam lingered beneath the heart tree, text of the testament unrolling in his thoughts. 3 acts completed. Blood, fire, breath, yet prophecy seldom ended in 3s. Too neat for the world's crooked weave. The final stanzas he had struggled to translate coalesced now, jagged phrases settling into sense. Vi benet, when winter wakes and shadow sings, let sap run red through root and ring. 4 seeds of light the earth must bear, or else the night will claim the air. The 4 seeds, leaves glowing kernels. He had planted 1 at Winterfell. 3 remained, destined for circles of power east, west, and south. His chest tightened, the rite unfinished after all. Without the other seeds, the old gods might stand alone against a tide too vast. He left the godswood deep in thought and nearly collided with Sansa Stark in the outer bailey. She wore wolf fur over grey damask, a circlet of subtle silver upon her brow. Lady of Winterfell in bearing, if not in title. Courtiers from Bear Island and White Harbor pressed notes into her hands. She directed men and grain and iron with steady poise. Yet, when she saw Sam, her mask of command cracked just enough to show weariness. Sam, she greeted, voice cool but kind. A raven from River Run. Edmure is mustering river lords, yet roads ice early this year. Grain stores low. Any miracles in your book for that? Nobody. Only patience and hope, my lady, Sam replied, cheeks warming. But I've discovered something. Those seeds Leaf gave us, there must be 4. Planted at 4 loci. He traced a square in air. Winterfell is the north. River Run guards the river's west. Heart's home stands watch to the east, where the moon first rises, and Old Town anchors the south by sea. If we sow the seeds in those godswoods, the roots will weave a net across Westeros, a wall of living magic stronger than any stone. Sansa's brow furrowed. River Run is under siege of weather, not foes. Heart's home lies near the sisters. Pirates prowl, and Old Town, the reach bleeds. Reports of plague along the Manda. She sighed. We cannot spare men. We cannot spare the world. Sam countered, gentle but firm. If the dead march, no castle stands alone. Magic must rise everywhere or nowhere. Sansa studied him, considering. Who would you trust with the seeds? One is here, Sam said. One I must bear east. Bran's words point that way. Another should ride west with Brienne of Tarth. She knows the Riverlands and carries Oathkeeper of Valyrian steel. The last must go south by sea. Gilly volunteers, I would go, but your book? Sansa finished. And Jon? Sam nodded. And Jon. Sansa's breath fogged. She glanced toward the great keep, where smoke curled from Meadhall chimneys. Brienne sails at dawn to gather river lords, she said at last. Alaska. As for Old Town, Sir Davos Reedy's ships for relief grain. He will protect Gilly. Relief washed through Sam, quickly chased by fear. Thank you, my lady. Sansa touched his arm, surprising him. Thank you, Samwell Tarly. Father once said the North survives, because men of the Watch hold the dark at bay. I think he meant men like you. And he one seeing. Heat flared in Sam's cheeks stronger than any heart. Sansa moved on, directing crossbowmen, and Sam hurried to the library tower to pack his satchel. Wind rattled shutters. Parchment rustled like restless leaves. He had one day before heading east with his seed of light. Eastward lay Shadow Tower ruins, the Finger Shores. Then Heart's home perched on cliffs above Cold Sur. Wild country, lawless since the Vale's knights withdrew to deflect Ironborn raids on Gulltown. He stuffed quills, inks, testament, packets of dried fish, dragonglass daggers, the seed wrapped in silk, and the rest of his courage into worn saddlebags. Then he climbed to the rookery, seeking Maester Wolkan for ravens, but found only cages rattling in drafts. The old Maester lay ill, sickness born of chill and worry. Sam bound messages himself with shaking fingers, to Brienne, to Davos, to Maester Mullen at Deepwood Motte, to his old brothers at Castle Black's ruins. He spared quill and ink to write Gilly a gentler letter, though they had spoken at length. Writing steadied him. Night fell. Dogs barked. Drums beat along the curtain wall. Jon assembled the watch and wildling vanguard in the courtyard. Fires cast wavering shadows over ranks of weathered faces. Tormund Giantsbane cracked jokes about goat-kissing whites to lighten fear, earning nervous laughs. Ghost prowled the edge, ears flat. Sam felt the wolf's unease in his own marrow. The Godswood's pulse quickened as though something vast pressed close to Winterfell's stones. Sam's eyes drifted north beyond the lights, imagining the blighted plain where the Night King had fallen. Snow blew there now, white upon white, concealing scars. Drummers ceased. Jon lifted long claw. Dust. We do not wait for winter, he called, words carrying. We ride to meet it. Rangers leave at first light. Scouts report movement by last hearth. Our friends from the free folk guide us over hidden passes. When we find the dead, we burn them. When we find the living, we bring them safely in. You know what's at stake. The wildlings remember your courage at Hardhome. They fight beside you again. Murmurs of assent surged. Spears battered shields. Hammers thudded greaves. Snow gusted like shards under torchlight. Sam stood by a barrel, clenching and unclenching numb fingers. He was no ranger, yet tomorrow he would ride east, not north. His path turned away from Jon's once more, though their aims converged. After the assembly, he found Gilly in the warm loft above the kennels. She rocked little Sam on her knee, singing a lullaby taught by Craster's wives, haunting minor chords that pricked tears. Sam crouched, resting a hand on his son's downy hair. Bran once said every flight has its branch, he murmured. What does that mean? Gilly asked. That the raven never truly leaves the tree. Each branch reaches across sky to another branch. Distance is an illusion. Gilly smiled wearily. Words to comfort fools who leave their families. Words to remind us we're never truly apart, Sam whispered, voice cracking. He kissed her knuckles, the child's tiny brow, and fled before tears broke. He slept little. Dreams of crimson, sap, and ice wolves circled until gray dawn seeped under shutters. When the horn sounded departure, he buckled on black leather, wrapped the seed in his cloak, and met his companions at the east gate. Arya waited astride a slim chestnut horse, spear strapped across her back. "You'll need eyes as sharp as mine," she said, tossing Sam a second dragonglass knife. "Don't drop it. You're coming." Sam blinked. "Did you think I'd sit knitting while you plant magic?" she snorted. "Besides, Nymeria prowls those woods. Might lend a paw." Sam swallowed. Nymeria, the she-wolf queen of the Riverlands, wild, unbound. Rumor painted her huge, as a horse now, leading a pack of hundreds. Arya seldom spoke of her, but Sam glimpsed pride in her eye. Their small party formed quickly. Arya, Sam, Podrick Payne with a broad grin, competent with sword and humor. Lady Lyra Mormont, niece to the late Lady Lyanna, wiry and fierce. And two wildlings, Thistle and Ragglebone, chosen by Tormund for woodcraft. They set out while purple clouds shredded in pale sun. Westgate clanged behind them, hooves crunched frost. King's Road forked east near Queen's Crown's old ruins. They followed a hunter's track that hugged forest edges, skirting frozen ponds glittering like shattered mirrors. Ravens tailed them overhead, sometimes 3, sometimes 30, silent save for wing beats. By midday, they passed an abandoned crofter's village. Doors hung loose, pale furs flapping. Arya slipped inside one hut, returned with dried lingonberries and a ragged doll. She tucked the toy into her saddlebags without word. Sam felt ghosts watch. That evening, they camped by a creek iced at banks, current still whispering. Thistle built a fire of twisted birch. Ragglebone set snares. Podrick strummed a lute he'd carried since Dragonstone, soft chords weaving comfort. Lyra sharpened a spear. Sam spread blankets and opened a testament to revised translations. The seed rested by his knee, faint glow pulsing like a banked coal. The night air thickened, heavy with damp. Fog rolled across the creek. Wolves howled distant. Sam traced runes until words wriggled like worms on a hook. He rubbed eyes gritty with ash. "Read aloud," Arya said, settling beside him. "It's mostly metaphor," Sam demurred. "Story then. Stories chase cold away." He cleared his throat, reciting the stanza about the 4 seeds. When he finished, Arya hummed. 4 walls. Makes sense. Every castle has 4 corners, 4 watchposts. Box in the dark. Nay, Sam considered. A prison for winter. Arya's fingers toyed with the dragonglass spearhead. Every prison has a jailer. Who stands watch over this one? Maybe we do, Sam ventured, though doubt nipped him. Fog thickened, firelight smeared. Thistle cursed softly, shapes moved near tree line. Sam's heart thumped. Podrick ceased strumming. Lyra's spear leveled. Shadows resolved into gaunt deer that stared with glassy eyes before bolting. Tension eased, laughter followed, brittle. At dawn, they broke camp. A raven circled thrice, then flitted east. Ragglebone clicked tongue. Bird says storm comin'. Might snow by sundown. They pressed on, crossing heather-clad ridges where chill wind scraped. Midday they glimpsed the shivering sea, glittering to their right. Waves battered white. Heart's home lay several leagues farther, along cliffs laced with basalt arches. The path descended into tangles of alder and holly, decked in scarlet berries devoured by thrushes. By late afternoon, snowflakes whirled thick, stinging cheeks. Arya rode point, hood frosted. Sam clutched reins numb. Thunder grumbled across slate sky, yet Sam sensed no lightning, only rumble like muffled drums. Bend in path revealed ruins. A stone watchtower keeled sideways, its base devoured by sea. As they passed, wind moaned through arrow slits like voices lamenting. Lyra muttered a prayer to the maiden. Ragglebone spat. "Dead things been here," he said. "Smell it." Thistle lifted a torch, though dusk not yet fallen. Faint greenish sparks rose where snow touched flame. Sam's stomach clenched. "Everyone keep eyes sharp," he warned, though voice quaked. Cliff road grew treacherous, slick. One misstep, hooves would skitter into oblivion. Fog erased horizon. They dismounted, leading horses single file. Arya vanished ahead, ghost among drift. Sam focused on each breath, each crunch of boot. But new sound crept, a whisper like parchment torn. He paused. The whisper merged into rustle, a flock of rags flapping on wind. Lyra behind him stiffened. Podrick cursed. Figures emerged from veils of white, emaciated shapes clad in sodden fur, eyes pale as opals. Whites, a dozen or more, shambled across drift, jaws slack. Snow tamped sound, rendering their advance eerily silent. Sam's gut nodded. He fumbled dragonglass dagger. The whites quickened, feet scratching grit. Ragglebone loosed an arrow. Shaft splintered through one white's skull, but creature lurched on. Thistle hurled torch. Flames licked icy flesh. Steam hissed. Fire slowed them, but more shapes thickened fog behind. Arya burst from mist, spear spinning. She slid under a reaching arm, dragged blade upward. Rib bones cracked black ice. White sagged, lifeless. Dragonglass, Sam remembered. Only dragonglass or fire. He lunged awkwardly, buried dagger in a white's chest. It collapsed in brittle pieces, limbs cracking like frozen twigs. Podrick's sword blade of dragonsteel whistled through another, shearing head free. Yet for everyone felled, two more lurched. Sam's breath burned in lungs. He stumbled on loose shale, daggers slipping. Lyra's spear danced, but her youth met the white's relentlessness. Cold hands gripped her arm, claws digging. She screamed. Sam swung dagger, severing fingers freed her. Fog parted to reveal towering cliff's edge scant yards away. Sea crashed below. Whites drove them closer, herd dogs of death. Arya vaulted atop a boulder. "Pod with me," she shouted. Together they formed a wedge, slicing forward, but ground yielded to drift, slowing feet. Thistle's torch guttered. White surged. Ragglebone smashed a lantern, spilling oil. Sam struck flint to steel. Spark blossomed into bloom of fire that ate oil and dead alike. Orange roar lit fog vivid, silhouettes thrashing, shrieking, void of breath. Heat scorched Sam's cheeks. Flame walled them from half the horde, yet the other half pressed from flank. Arya darted beyond firelight, blurred motion. Sam lost sight of her, heart lurching. A piercing howl split gale. Wolves, not singular, but chorus of throats deep and fierce. Gray shapes thundered from tree line, eyes smoldering amber. Nymeria, vast and battle-scarred, led charge, fangs flashing. Her pack fell upon whites like storm of muscle and tooth. Bones snapped, rotten sinew tore. Whites toppled beneath relentless maws. Arya reappeared astride Nymeria's shoulder as though born to it, spear flickering silver arcs. Sam watched, awe swallowing fear. Wolves and dragonglass, God's fury made flesh. Minutes stretched, whirls of violence and snow. At last only silence remained, broken by wolves, panting and crackle of dying flame. Charred fragments of whites lay strewn, limbs twitching before stillness. Nymeria nudged Arya with tail thick as pine trunk. Arya scratched giant ear, eyes shining with something like homecoming. "Good girl," she whispered hoarsely. Sam zagged against boulder, legs trembling. Lyra crouched beside him, blood seeping from torn sleeve. He bound her wound with thawed cloth. Podrick fetched waterskin, offered shakily. Thistle stamped, extinguished torches into slush. Ragglebone eyed Wolfpack warily. Nymeria growled low. Arya gestured. Wolves melted back into mist, save Nymeria, who lingered, guarding. "Why here?" Podrick asked, voice small. "So far south for whites?" Sam retrieved his seed, glow flickering. "Maybe we draw them," he said. "A cage not yet wrought leaks secrets. Then we finish forging," Arya stated. They pressed on, urgency doubled. Snow thickened into blizzard. Nymeria scouted ahead, clearing path, her pack nipping straggling dead that wandered. Sam trudged, boots sodden. Testament's words drummed inside skull. Near midnight, they reached Hart's home cliffs. Waves crashed far below, unseen. Broken keeps jutted like rotten teeth. But Godswood remained, a ring of gnarled alders sheltering a single weirwood twisted by sea winds, its face wind-scarred yet resolute. There, amid snow-lashed dark, Sam planted second seed. Ritual echoed Winterfell's. Blood, fire, breath. Arya offered first blood this time, slicing palm, smearing red across bark. Lyra lit pitch-soaked rope of pine to kindle ghost blue flame. Sam chanted, voice hoarse, weaving old tongue and Testament's runes. Nymeria stood sentinel, head raised to sky. Wind died as though hushed by unseen host. Sea's roar muted. Weirwood's eyes flared red, sap bled like wine. Roots burst forth, weaving luminous net across frozen soil. Power rippled cliff to cliff, frost fracturing like glass. Sam sensed connection, snap taut between this heart tree and Winterfell's, a cord of scarlet light intangible yet real. When glow faded, snow resumed softly, as if merely paused. Silence fell sacred. Arya exhaled, eyes reflecting embers. 2 walls raised. Sam closed fist around remaining silk bundle. 2 to go. Dawn painted sea pink. They found Hart's homes, surviving fisherfolk, huddled in caves. News of whites brought tears and curses. Arya and Lyra organized evacuation caravans to escort them inland under Wolfpack guard. Nymeria's presence kept panic low. People trusted in monster they could see. Sam scribbled letters for ravens at a half-collapsed maester's rookery, sending word of second seeds rooting to Winterfell and River Run and Old Town. He pressed wax seal of bundle leaf, heart pounding. Podrick volunteered to guide fisherfolk west until Brienne intercepted them. Arya insisted on escorting seed-bearer Sam south to Gulltown for a ship bound to White Harbor, then cross land to Old Town. Lyra north to bring new strength to Jon. They parted on cliffs at noon, cold spray misting cheeks. Podrick clasped Sam's hand. "Keep quills sharp," he said. Sam smiled wanly. "Keep sword sharper." Arya and Sam descended the coastal track with Thistle and Ragglebone. Wolves ranged high bluffs, silhouettes fierce against sky. Snow eased, gulls wheeled over frothy tide. Yet as they rode, Sam's shoulders prickled. The world felt suspended, breath held. That evening, camped in Hollow of Dunes, Sam pored over Testament again. Runes around stanzas now glowed faint silver. Lines he thought mere ornament. He squinted, translating. PGSQ. When 2 hearts beat in broken stone, the night will crawl from shattered throne. Before the 3rd seed finds its soil, the drowned one stirs to claim the spoil. Drowned one. Sea god? Or darker thing beneath? Sam's stomach lurched. Old Town lay on coast. Ironborn raiders worshipped the drowned god. Could they interfere? He shared verse with Arya. She chewed lip. We sailed past Iron Islands to reach. Pirates aplenty, but I'll slit throats of any drowned god's men who board. Yes. Confidence warmed Sam, though unease remained. Gulltown appeared after 4 days of arduous travel. Veil soldiers manned walls, but seemed restless. Refugees thronged docks, tongues weaving tales of plague ships and white attacks on Sisterton. The city smelled of fish and fear. At harbor, a Bravosi cog named Moon's Whisper prepared to sail south before storms worsened. Captain Renaud, lean with faded tattoo of a moon woman on his cheek, agreed to carry them for weight of silver and promise of Winterfell's gratitude. Arya flashed stark seal. Price half. Thistle and Ragglebone hated water, but boarded under Arya's glare. Wolves remained shorebound. Nymeria howled farewell. But Sam fancied he felt unseen eyes escort through foam. The Moon's Whisper cut through waves, sails full of salt wind. Sam huddled in cramped cabin, scribbling translation notes by lantern sway. Arya practiced forms on deck, blades flashing moonlight. Bravosi sailors watched in awe, muttering, "Water dancer." One named Giano taught Arya Mirish steps. She corrected his stance. On third night, squall battered vessel. Lightning split sky, deck pitched. Arya lashed Sam to mast when seasick threatened tumble. Thistle cursed the sea witch. Rage of waves mirrored Sam's internal dread. Drowned one stirs. Storm passed, yet at dawn watchmen sighted sails behind. Black hull trimmed in bronze. Ironborn longship, prow carved like kraken. Renaud's face drained. "They outpace us with oars," he hissed. "If they board, they'll slit throats for pleasure." Sam clutched seed bundle, hard hammering. Arya's eyes hardened like tempered ice. "Then we board them first." She rallied sailors, stringing bow with Valyrian steel, tipped arrows gifted by Gendry. Thistle notched crossbow. Ragglebone fetched barrels of lamp oil. Longship closed, waves churning white. Ironborn shouted oaths to drowned god. Axes glinted. Harpoons launched, but fell short. Arya loosed first arrow. Shaft hissed true, piercing helmsman's eye. Screams rose. Wildling bolts followed. Oil flame barrels hurled across gap, exploded, drenched deck in flame. Yet Ironborn rode on, frenzy stoked by fire. Collision cracked timbers. Grapnels clanged rail. Figure bounded onto Moon's Whisper. A woman in black scaled armor, trident in hand. Euron's kin. She moved like eel through blood, impaling 2 sailors in heartbeat. Arya met her, blade whirling. They circled amid carnage, sparks and water mingling. Sam ducked an axe, slashed with dragon glass. Dead flesh parted, but these men not whites. They bled red. He gagged but fought. Lightning flashed again, though sky clear. A weird blue bolt that struck mast of longship, shattering yardarm. Both crews froze as unnatural fire rippled across sail, shapes writhing within flame. Squid tendrils of light twisting. Ironborn chanted, voices reverent. "He comes," they cried. Sea roared, black as pitch, though sun shone. From depths beside ships surged monstrous swell, foam seething. A shape immense and impossible rose, part serpent, part drowned corpse, crowned with barnacle-crusted horns. Water cascaded off scaled hide the color of midnight. Eyes glimmered cold teal. Sam's scream strangled inside throat. Testament's warning crashed home. Drowned one stirs. Not deity, perhaps, but relic of old magics revived by seed's pulse. Creature's maw gape, emitting roar that fused thunder and whale song. Shockwave toppled men, splintered rail. Ironborn raised tridents in ecstasy. Many leapt overboard to embrace God. Arya hauled Sam to feet. "The seed, it's light!" she shouted over cacophony. Sam fumbled silk bundle, unwrapping seed's glow now intense. It pulsed like heartbeat of sunrise within ruby shell. He thrust it skyward, shouting runes he barely understood, calling on old gods of earth to quell god of sea. Light speared from seed, piercing storm-dark air, arcing onto creature's barnacled brow. The beast reeled, bellowing fury. Water churned, but glow spread, forming lattice of scarlet threads that bound coils, cinched like nets of flame. Arya seized dragonglass spear, drove point into deck, channeling glow through wood, into hull, across gangplanks to longship. Boards shuddered. Runes crawled along grain, igniting mindless fire that devoured iron studs. Ironborn shriek as ship cracked, swallowed by whirlpool around thrashing creature. Waves swallowed warriors, tridents, chants. Sam's arms shook, but he held seated aloft, chanting until throat raw. Threads tightened, sinking beast inexorably. Massive horns vanished, roar trailing to gurgle. Sea boiled, then stilled, yawning maw closing. Silence thundered, only moan of wind through torn sails remain. Longship gone, moon's whisper bobbed, hull scorched but afloat. Bravosi cheered weakly, some wept. Arya wiped sea spray from brow, meeting Sam's wide eyes. "You caged a god," she said, respect mingled with amazement. Sam lowered seed, glow dimming like ember after storm. "Not caged," he whispered. "Return to slumber, maybe." Knees buckled. Arya caught him. Captain Renau limped across deck, offering wineskin. "Old gods walk your wake, maester. I sail no farther. Old Town port. Take boat. Go." By dusk, the battered cog reached whispering sound off the arbor. Renau dropped Sam, Arya, and wildlings on fisher skiff with barrels of fresh water, pointed them toward Honeywine estuary. "Follow the stars," he said. "Pray." They rode 2 nights under constellations shifting behind thin cloud. Arya steered by memory learned from Sirio and Lord Davos. Sam dozed sitting, clutching seed. Dreams of fire nets and weirwood smiles chased him. Dawn of 3rd day revealed Old Town's shining high tower spire. Pale rose in mist. Bells told a somber hymn. News of plague thickened air. Harbor teemed with quarantined ships, yellow flags limp. They glided past sluggish patrol galleys, uninterested in humble skiff. On quay, red priests burned incense, claiming sickness divine judgment. Sam hurried seed beneath cloak, passing throngs coughing behind masks. The citadel's walls loomed, familiar yet changed. Vines of red leaf sprouted along buttresses. Windows wept crimson sap. Word of northern miracle had raced ahead. Master and bros met them at Scribe's gate, cheeks gaunt, eyes bright with fevered zeal. "I felt the roots breathe," he rasped. "The glyphs in my dreams." "Your hand, Samuel." He reached for seed, reverent. Sam hesitated. Disorder. Ambrose smiled sadly. "I would die, happy, touching the future once." Sam offered brief glance of glow. Ambrose gasped, stepping back. "Plant quickly," he urged. "The plague kills hundreds. Fevers royal streets. Weirwood's grace may purge taint." Arya scouted ahead with Thistle. Ragglebone remained by skiff to watch gear. Sam followed Ambrose down secret passages into undercroft of starry sept ruins, where faith militants' rebellion had toppled idols decades prior. Beneath shattered marble, Living roots of hidden weirwood sought sun through cracks. Sam knelt at that pale shoot, burying third seed in soft loam. Blood. Sam's sliced wrist. Ambrose bled too, crimson mingling. Fire. Arya lit oil lamp of septs, eternal flame relic, setting shoot aglow. Breath. Sam recited full testament in old tongue, voice echoing vault. Light blaze flooded crypt, erupting through fissures into nave above. Bells halted mid-peal. Sick wretches in streets witnessed scarlet beams, lancing from shattered rose window, painting sky. Stench of plague lifted as breeze scented of pine swept lanes. Sam emerged into courtyard where dying men rose fever-free, weeping. Mothers pressed healthy infants to breasts. Priests knelt, hands raised. But victory soured when Ambrose sagged, coughing blood. Sap on his palm had blackened veins, spreading like frost spiderweb. Arya grabbed Sam. Die. What's wrong? Ambrose smiled, faint. Seed draws strength. I am old wood, time to fall. He pressed silver key into Sam's grip. Book vault. More secrets. Finish work. Nili, Tamami, Ken, Dios, Show. He passed then, eyes peaceful. Sam closed lids, sorrow a knife. Arya laid hand on his shoulder. He believed in you. Belief costs lives, Sam choked. Or saves them, she countered, gesturing at healed masses. That night they burned Ambrose on pyre of olive wood, overlooking Honeywine. Sparks drifted into star-strewn sky. Sam mourned, but purpose steeled. One seed remains at River Run. After, the 4-point ward complete. But time dwindled. Night's tide quickened. Letters from Winterfell confirmed Jon marching. On last hearth, undead hosts swelling. Brienne's note from Golden Tooth described skirmishes with whites near the Trident's ford. River Run's Godswood still slept. Sam and Arya left at dawn aboard river barge, rowing upstream against sluggish current. Thistle and Ragglebone stayed in Old Town to train healers in fire wards. Hightower's beacon blazed crimson now, sailors calling at Heartstar. Journey inland tested resolve. Bandits, plague pockets, refugee caravan. Yet Weirwood Dream guided Sam, glimpses of red leaves fluttering like beacons. Nights, he felt pulse of 3 seeds thrumming across realm, weaving lattice incomplete. East Bank hills rolled golden, despite frost. They passed Bitterbridge, charred from skirmish between sellsword companies. Arya dispatched hired swords, harassing peasants. Quiet ferocity honed by faces of death. Near High Heart Barrow they met Green Dreamer, a girl child with pale eyes who spoke to Sam in riddles. The river wolf drowns if Heartfire not bridged, she warned. Her gift, acorn carved with runes older than Royne. Sam pocketed, sensing import. They reached River Run's siege-battered walls as winter's first true snow fell in fat flakes. Lord Edmure received them gratefully, cheeks hollow from famine. Brienne stood beside him, oathkeeper across back. She had seed safe but lacked means to plant. Enemy whites besieged Godswood inside walls, risen from crypts of Tully dead. Night before planned ritual, Sam dreamt of Ned Stark's tomb eyes opening, blue flames licking. He woke screaming. Arya calmed him with rare embrace. We light the heart, dead will fall, she said. Winter moon hung huge and red when they entered River Run's Godswood. Snow-dusted willow branches drooping above frozen pond. Whites waited in silent ring, old knights in rusted mail, ladies in bridal shrouds, river folk whose nets still clung to skeletal fingers. Between them and Hearttree stood ghostly vision of Catelyn Stark, Lady Stoneheart, but eyes now luminous green instead of dead red. The god's power had reached even her vengeance-sown soul, half restoring grace. She spoke without tongue moving. "Finish what you began, son of Horn Hill." Brienne's breath caught at sight of old mistress. Whites did not move, stone puppets awaiting cue. Sam knelt, seed in palm, pulsing urgent. He signaled Brienne. She strode forward, slicing wrist with Oathkeeper, blood splattering snow. Sam's blade followed. Arya ignited dragonglass torch doused in oil from Jojen's acorn. Flame burned emerald. Together they chanted. Whites convulsed, yet Stoneheart raised scarred hand. They stilled. Heartsap flooded tree, scarlet and jade entwined. Roots erupted, shattering pond ice. Whites crumbled into dust, swirling upward, catching moonlight like silver snow. Stoneheart's visage softened, tears of sap tracing scars. "Tell my daughters, I am at peace." She faded, merging with Willow. 4 seeds, now pulsed in union. Across Westeros, sky shimmered faint lattice so subtle, none but maesters scanning stars noticed. Constellations blinked within tenuous red haze, the living wall complete. Yet north, at foot of shattered wall, Jon Snow faced legion of white shadow taller than giants. Their king, reborn silhouette of ice in armor of night, raised spear of star glass, striking lattice. Crimson web flared, repelling blow, but tremor shuddered down seams. Sam felt jolt like knife to spine. Arya steadied him. "Shield holds," she whispered, "but war begins." Jon's message arrived next dawn. "Hold fast, bring fire, final battle near Fist of First Met. 4 seeds grant shield, but need living swords." Sam closed testament, its pages now blank, words flown into world. He strapped satchel, dragged a breath. "Time to fight," he said. Arya smiled fierce. "Not today, death," she murmured, and turned her horse north, Sam at her side, Weirwood dawn blooming bloody gold over rivers shining with new hope. The Shua. Dawn crawled over the Red Fork as a sullen ember, rather than a burst of gold. Its weak light barely piercing the veil of mist, sprawled across the water meadows. Samwell Tarly stood upon the battlements of River Run, wind whipping the black cloak from his shoulders. Below, the river lapped at ice-sheathed banks, carrying dead leaves downstream in forlorn procession. Behind him, the castle stirred. Tyrell bannermen coaxed life into dying fires. Blackfish veterans checked crossbow strings with rheumatic fingers. Brienne drilled raw recruits, the hiss of Oathkeeper singing counterpoint to the staccato clatter of pikes. Winter's teeth gnawed every joint, yet hope, like a buried ember, glowed in each soldier's eyes. Sam turned from the view, heart beating to a rhythm that was no longer merely his. 4 seeds pulsed through the land, one beneath Winterfell's crimson canopy, one upon the sea-scoured cliffs of Heart's Home, one burning in Old Town's starry sept crypts, and the last newly planted, humming within River Run's willow heart tree. Those pulses echoed inside Sam, a distant drumming in his veins, as though roots coiled through his marrow. When he closed his eyes, he felt them all, tugging northward toward a focal point of gathering darkness. The Fist of the First Met. On the parapet, he unrolled Jon Snow's latest raven. Its words were terse, edges darkened by soot from campfires burning green up north. In Dinks, the dead amass 5 leagues south of the Fist. Scouts count giants reanimated, ice wyverns in harness. Shield holds, but strains, bring every blade and hope. Ride soonest. Jon. Sam reread until letters blurred. Every blade and hope. He thought of Gilly's lopsided smile, of little Sam's bright laugh, of Ambrose's dying gasp, of Leaf Seed's shimmering jade in the moonlight. They all converged upon the same blank-faced terror looming beyond the wall's remains. If they failed, none of those small, precious lives would see another spring. Footsteps approached. Arya Stark appeared, cheeks ruddy and cold, hair tied back tight. She carried 2 curving Valyrian daggers at her belt, dragonglass spear slung across her back, and the confident posture of a cat, certain of its claws. "TARLY," she greeted, half-smile playing. "Brienne wants you in the yard. She's calling for volunteers to ride north, but folk trust you more than her knight's tales. Scholar's courage sounds sweeter to farmers than warrior's bloodlust." Sam's throat tightened. "I'll speak." He followed her down winding stairs into the outer bailey where fires crackled inside iron braziers. Brienne stood on a dais of overturned barrels, armor sparkling frost. Beside her loomed Lady Lyra Mormont, fresh from Winterfell, a cub who had grown into lioness. Soldiers, peasants, riverlords, even a clutch of septons gathered, eyes wary. Brienne's voice carried. "We march in 3 days. The Night King, or whatever New Wraith commands, is massing. If you stay, I swear we'll garrison Riverrun, but wolves won't keep winter's jaws shut. The North has held the line for generations. Now it's our turn." Murmurs flickered like moth wings. Sam climbed beside her, heart hammering. "I am no knight," he began, voice cracking, "but I have faced the White Walkers and lived. I have watched children freeze in their mother's arms. I have seen the wall fall, and I have seen what stands between us and that fate. All of us, old, young, highborn, small folk, standing shoulder to shoulder, hearts bound by roots deeper than fear." He raised a clenched fist. "Those roots are awake now, listening. Every step you take north, the old gods step beside you. Every arrow you loose, a weirwood whispers its aim. We ride not to die, but to live. For spring and songs, and the smell of fresh bread." He paused, swallowing tears. "For home." Silence held. Then a farmer raised a hoe, yell cracking. A sellsword thumped shield. Soon the yard roared, voices braiding into thunder. Brienne's eyes shone with pride. Arya's grin flashed white. They assembled 200 strong. Not legion enough to shift earth, but the seeds had done more with less. Ravens flew south to Old Town, east to Hart's home. Call all able bodies north. Brienne named Lyra captain of the rear guard. Podrick took standard. Arya would lead vanguard scouts with Nymeria's wolves drifting at edges unseen. Sam, to his chagrin, was placed near front. Brienne insisted Morale rode with him. Supplies packed quickly. Pickled fish, oat bread, barrels of pitch, cartloads of fresh-cut weirwood branches, their sap sapling bright. Blacksmiths forged spearheads of dragon glass shipped from dragonstone caches. Maesters melted hearthstone salts into alchemical grenades, rumored to flash sunlight. By third dawn, snowfall lessened, but cold deepened. Air brittle as thin glass. They set forth under one moon, crossing crackling shallows at the Red Fork Ford. Frosted grass crunched beneath hooves. Wolves padded between ranks, eyes ember bright. As they advanced, Sam felt the lattice over Westeros adjust, threads retightening behind them like spider silk. He whispered prayers that Gilly's southern voyage remained safe. First week passed in marches long and bone-numbing. At Maidenpool ruins they bivouacked amid charred timbers, sharing stew thick with barley. Sam recited tales of the children's first pact. Arya taught youngsters to jab dragonglass through rotten sternums. Each night ravens delivered tidings. Old Town's plague receded, Riverland baronies emptying to join. But darker news followed. Eastwatch's coastline shrouded in unnatural fog, Hardhome glaciers cracking to birth pale serpents. On 9th morning, they entered a corridor of silent villages, snowdrifts swallowing doors, hearths dead. Only ravens watched from sagging roofs. Wolves prowled doorways, whined low. Ragglebone, now Sam's constant shadow, sniffed air and muttered, "Rot wind." Dead struck at dusk. Scouts reported shapes skulking woodline. Then a shriek erupted behind supply wagons, corpses of villagers risen. Eyes sapphire, claws jay. Brienne's command rang. Shields up. Lines braced as whites crashed like surf. Dragon glass flashed purple in torch light. Sam clutched his dagger but found himself chanting old runes instead, voice low, weaving through noise like silver thread. Astonishingly, whites near him faltered, as if tangled in words. Soldiers cut them down easily. Battle lasted hours, dead tide ebbing only when Arya vaulted over snowbank to jam a glass spear into the gaunt chest of their leader, an eyeless walker wearing rust-caked breastplate. It shattered in blizzard of shards. The whites collapsed, strings cut. Cheers rang. They burned piles of corpses until acrid smoke drifted to stars. Sam sat on upturned cask, hands shaking. Arya crouched, thrusting steaming mug into his grip. Whatever tongue you spoke, keep it ready. The dead didn't like it. He nodded, recollection fuzzy. Testament syllables had taken on life, springing unbidden. Perhaps the weirwoods used his throat. Comforting thought. 2 days later, they reached the banks of the fever-frozen green fork. Ice thick as castle walls cracked beneath weight but held. While engineers hacked planks into runners, Sam studied map by lantern. Fist of the first men jutted like a knuckled stone within haunted forest, northwest of Craster's Keep ruins. John's scouts reported undead to south along Queen's Crown Trail. But shield lines of living magic fouled their scents. They skirted, massing for single push at Fist. Brienne decided to swing wide west, crossing near Shadow Tower's debris field, hooking north to arrive behind White Host. Risky, terrain rough, but element of surprise crucial. Ravens flew to John, delivering timing. They crossed at dusk, horses snorting steam, sleds creaking. Midway, thundering crack, split ice. Then calm. Everyone exhaled. But as rear cart neared far bank, the surface exploded upward, geysering shards. From black water surged skeletal bear, fur mottled with hoarfrost, jaw unhinged. 2 mules plunged into chasm, screaming. Lyra hurled spear, tip splintered hide. Beast ignored, slamming paws onto ice. Podrick and 10 pikemen held line, prongs stabbing eyes. Bear roared, icy breath, freezing beards stiff. Sam felt lattice tug. He thrust palm onto ice, whispered heat. Red aura sparked beneath sheet. Cracks glowed, tracing web that reached Bear's paws. It bellowed confusion as rime melted, weight plunging. Water swallowed monster, bubbling silence. They rushed across new fissures before ice sealed again. No one spoke until far shore. Then cheer dulled by exhaustion. Past the river, the haunted forest greeted them with ancient pines, draped in cobweb frost. Snow muffled hoofbeats, only creak of trunks and faint moan of wind remain. Wolves vanished among shadows, only their breath clouds marking presence. On 5th Forest night, Sam woke to Brown's raven perched atop ridgepole of his tent. 3-eyed stare bored into him. Words spilled in his head, not ear. Winter crowns herself tonight. Bring root and flame to the fist before moon sets thrice, else lattice fray. He blinked tears. Raven flew, leaving black feather to drift onto his blanket. He tucked it into testament pages. Even though book blank, he still carried it. March quickened. They slept little, ate less, senses drawn taut as sinew. Frostbite took toes, fatigue claimed old fighters, yet eyes burned with purpose. Snow deepened, swallowing horses' knees. Scouts reported they were within 10 leagues of the Fist. Jean's army encamped on South Slope, shield flickering ruby overhead like northern lights woven into dome. Whites amassed around, crawling like ants at bread crust, but repelled by unseen barrier. Fire flared along lines where Melisandre's red priests cast amber relief. At noon, flurries dimmed to reveal silhouette of Fist ahead, black crown of jagged stone above white forest. The shield shimmered faint crimson at its base, like dying hearth. Sam's heart lurched, the lattice strained, threads fraying where undead pressed. He felt pulses stutter, irregular. Brienne formed column, signaled advance. They trudged through drifts, every breath stinging. Wolves appeared at flanks, Nymeria leading. She touched noses with Ghost at ridge, then melted away. As Sam crested rise, Joan's camp spread below, ragged tents, lines of braziers, ballista aimed outward. Northern banners, the direwolf, the flayed man of Bolton, turned inside out into a white flag of surrender. The merman of Manderley fluttered with grim defiance. Dothraki horsemen patrolled, braids frozen stiff. Even unsullied companies stood, former slaves now guardians of the realm. John strode from command pavilion, Longclaw on hip, face gaunt but eyes blazing. When he saw Sam, he broke into rare smile, clasping shoulders. Bloody time. Sam swallowed lump. We planted the fourth seed. Shield holds but flickers. What now? No. Shh. Joan's gaze flicked to horizon where undead formed grisly sea. Their leader hides, testing weaknesses. Bran believes he sits within fissure north of Fist. Ancient barrow where the first Night King fell. Leaf says only two things can shatter his resurrection. Forging the lattice into blade of light, through you, or striking him at heart's root with dragonglass tempered in weirwood sap, through Arya. Arya appeared, wiping snow from brow. I rather like simple solutions. John chuckled darkly. Not simple. The heart's root is deep within Barrow Labyrinth. Whites thick as bees. You'll need guide. Then a rasping voice answered. I guide. Leaf stepped from shadows, shorter than Arya. Eyes glowing amber. Sam's breath misted. I know paths carved by giant hands. Plans formed quickly. While main army held shield, Sam would stand atop Fist, channel lattice into focused beams scorching undead, thinning ranks for strike team. Arya, Leaf, John, Brienne, Ghost, and Nymeria would slip through underworld tunnels, hunt the Night Lord. Brienne objected leaving command, but John insisted. Her vow to Catelyn Stark demanded presence. Podrick assumed outer defense with Lyra. They prepared at twilight. Red Priest smeared runes on Sam's palms with fiery oil. He winced as skin smoked but did not burn. Maester Tybalt from Old Town lent iron circlet inlaid with weirwood shavings, antenna for root signal. Sam donned heavy wool and fingerless gloves, gripped slick with nervous sweat. At moonrise he climbed craggy switchback up Fist, flanked by two Vale archers bearing lanterns of wildfire. Wind howled savage, snow devils danced. Reaching summit, Sam beheld the lattice stretched across sky. Faint red gossamer converging into swirling vortex directly overhead. It reminded him of eye of a hurricane, still yet ominous. He knelt, laid palms on rough stone flecked with ancient rune carvings, and inhaled. Testament's blank pages rustled at his belt, though no breeze touched them. Suddenly symbols blazed across parchment anew, runes fluid, shifting before locking into single column. Words flowed into his mind, molten gold, forging chain, song, not shield. Seed, not stone, call, not cage. Sam exhaled, chanting syllables older than sunrise. The lattice quivered, threads brightening, braiding, twisting into living rope of ruby fire funneling downward into his chest. Pain seared. Every nerve lit torch bright. He cried out, but continued chant, voice anvil for forging. Light burst from his eyes, mouth, fingertips, scattering across summit like meteors. Below, undead ranks reeled as invisible waves swept outward. Frost giants cracked, limbs falling. Thin walkers screeched, ice wyverns stumbling midair. Wings tattered. Living soldiers cheered, pressing attack lines outward to hack down stunned whites. Sam sensed hearts beating of every soldier, felt their fears, hopes, love. Lattice funneled that into weapon. He directed beam toward densest horde. Where it touched, undead combusted into white sparks consumed by stormwind. Yet with power came backlash. Cold wormed into marrow, tinge of null void swirling at edges of mind. Night Lord sensed assault. Far north, Barrowmouth glowed sickly blue. Spear of shadow shot skyward, striking lattice like crossbow bolt. Sam felt jolt, vision blurred. He gritted teeth, redoubled chant. Threads flared, repelling spear which shattered into hail of screaming fragments. Miles away beneath snow-clogged pines, Arya's party advanced. Leaf led through hollow log to stair spiraling into roots. Tunnels pulsed faint luminescence from weirwood veins threading walls. Ghostly faces murmured. John kept pace, sword ready. Brienne guarded rear, shields slung. Wolves prowled ahead, senses keen. Passage widened into cavern where frost formed stalactites shaped like fangs. At center rose altar of black ice, runes carved in spiral. Night Lord waited astride dais, figure sculpted of moonlit obsidian, crown of icicles, eyes holes of void. In his chest flickered heart of dark sapphire, beating slow. He spoke no words, yet cold silence pressed them. John stepped forward, steel rasping. Arya circled left, spear poised. Leaf whispered to roots, walls groaned. Night Lord thrust arm. From shadows emerged white children, hollow-eyed, stumbling. John's breath hitched. He remembered Craster's babies lost. He hesitated. Arya darted, slicing first child's neck. Merciful quickness, then second. Brienne dispatched third with tearful prayer. Ghost lunged, jaws snapping. Nymeria herded group away. John regained resolve, advanced. Night Lord summoned blade of shadow glass. Beams of moon glinted. Clash of steel and void rang, sparks blue-white. Each parry drained heat from John's sword. Frost crept hilt. He grimaced, pivoted. Leaf whispered. Root tendrils shot from floor, binding Night Lord's ankles. He smashed free with wave of frost, shards slicing Leaf's shoulder. She stumbled but sang louder, sapling sprouting, entwining arms. Arya seized moment, sprinted. Dragonglass dagger sheathed in weirwood sap glowed crimson yellow, seed fire forging. Night Lord's gaze locked on her. He hurled icicle shards. Arya leapt, twin blades flashing. One shard grazed her cheek, blood splattering. She rolled, sprang, dagger punched into chest below crown. Cracks sounded like worlds splitting. Dark sapphire heart fissured, radiating fractures through torso. John drove Longclaw up, cleaving crown in two. Night Lord screamed void song. Cavern shook, ceiling shedding shards. Blue light bled away, leaving empty shadow. The figure collapsed into pile of hoarfrost, then dust. Atop fist, Sam felt sudden vacuum. Lattice surged, no longer resisted. Threads blazed brilliant crimson gold, then gently dimmed to warm sunset hue, settling like quilt across land. Weight lifted from his chest, knees buckled, but archers caught him. He laughed, a raw, incredulous sound. Undead armies crumpled en masse, strings severed. Some fell inert, others shattered as though merely brittle mannequins. Ice wyverns nosedived, bursting into snowflakes on rocks. A hush rippled outward, startling in its completeness. Only moans of wind remained. In cavern, Leaf pressed hand to Arya's wound, sap flowed, knitting skin. Arya winced, then grinned. Not today, she panted. John exhaled tremor, sheathed Longclaw. Brienne knelt, offering silent, thanks to absent gods. Wolves howled, victory's lament, answered by distant pack along ridges. Cavern roots glowed gentle rose, as though dawn seeped through stone. They emerged under star-smeared sky. Aurora of scarlet and emerald rippled overhead, weaving tapestry across northern canopy. Soldiers on slopes cheered as John lifted broken crown, now harmless ice, and hurled it into chasm where it sizzled away. Fires burned through night, not of battle but of warmth and celebration. Northern drums pounded, free folk danced, unsullied sang low Valyrian hymns. Sam sat near hearth, exhaustion draping like wet cloak. Arya plopped beside, nudging with shoulder. "We lived," she said, incredulous. "So far," Sam agreed. He glanced at Testament, pages blank again. Maybe stories still to write. John joined, snowflakes in hair. "Winter isn't over," he warned gently. "But first dawn without dread matters." He clasped Sam's forearm. "I could not have done this without you." Sam flushed. "I mostly chanted." Arya snorted. "Chanted better than anyone alive." Above, stars wheeled. The lattice faded to faint silver filaments, settling into the background of night like memory. Roots beneath four seeds continued to hum, a heartbeat of realm reborn. Next morning they buried, fallen under cairns of ice, melted smooth by Sam's song. Leaf and remaining children arrived from hidden groves, pledging to teach men how to tend Nuban. Red priests knelt beside weirwoods in truce. Melisandre, hair now ghost white, whispered that the Lord of Light winked, yet lived in every candle, but needed no priests to speak his will. She walked north alone, vanishing into snow. Peacetalk sprouted amid frost. Wildlings offered timber to rebuild Eastwatch. Manderlys promised ships. Ironborn survivors, chastened by drowned gods' defeat, swore off reaving for generation. Some doubted, but hope breeds bargains once impossible. Council convened atop Fist in makeshift hall of lashed pine. Lords and free folk alike debated fate of seeds. Sam proposed order of wardens, keepers of the root, drawn from all peoples, sworn to guard heart trees and maintain lattice. Council approved. First keeper named Lady Lyra Mormont, small but fierce. Arya announced intention to roam south, ensuring no rogue sorcerers dredged old magics for ruin. Nymeria would guide. She hugged John fiercely, kissed Sam's cheek, and melted into forest. Sam received Raven weeks later. Gilly landed safe in Old Town. She aided plague wards, seed at starry sept, flourishing into young saplings lining the honeywine. Mother and child healthy, awaiting his return. But Sam remained north through thaws and refreezes, cataloging new weirwood shoots sprouting along ancient Kings Road, mapping resonance nodes. He led crews in Sealing Barrow Labyrinth, performed rites over Night Lord's ashes, scattering them to four winds. One quiet evening, Sam climbed Fist alone. Snow melted to reveal moss, tiny flowers reaching for sun. He sat on stone where he had anchored lattice, breathing pine-scented air. Sky stretched clear blue, scattered with gulls wandering far from sea. He smiled softly. Behind closed lids he sensed far-off heartbeats. Winterfell sentinel tree shading children, Old Town saplings swaying in sea breeze. Heart's home willow crackling with gull song. River runs willow weeping into peaceful pond. Connection gentle now, not burden but comfort. Footsteps crunching snow announced John. He settled beside Sam, offering skin of blackberry wine. They drank in silence. John broke it first. "Spring feels possible." "It always was," Sam said. "We've just forgotten how to coax it." John considered. "Will the old gods want tribute, sacrifice?" Sam shook head. "They asked only for memory. We carry that." Wind sighed through pines. Far below, soldiers dismantled last siege works, stacking stones for houses. Children chased wolves, Cubs playful, tails wagging, laughter carried. John rose. Kingdoms will need rebuilding, councils, coin. I don't relish that. Sam chuckled. I prefer scrolls to crowns, but world won't order itself. You'll manage. You always did. New. John clapped his shoulder, departed. Sam remained until sun kissed horizon, burnished gold. He placed palm on warm stone, whispering final stanza of testament. A blessing, not spell. Vignette. Let roots hold fast, though leaves may fall. Let breath of earth sing through us all. When night returns, as night must do, the song will rise in me and you. He stood, brushed snow from cloak, and descended toward fires of a camp where stories already grew taller than giants. Some would forget facts, twist dates, call him hero or liar. It mattered little. Truth rested beneath stone, in roots and blood and quiet songs carried on wind. Elish, Lou and his friends, family, around hearth. He felt the world turn, slow and steady, toward dawn. The gods were awake, but so too were mortals, shoulders squared to share the weight. Spring would come, not as gift, but as reward earned in frost and flame. And shadow rose again. There would be keeps and singers and wolves ready to meet it. For now, he let himself laugh.